Boker Tov, Talmidim, Chaverim, my students and my friends. In real time, today is October 10th. It is 3 days into the horrific, savage attack that was launched against communities in southern Israel by Hamas. Uh, an attack that targeted not the Israeli military or the military structure, but deliberately sought out civilians and killed hundreds of Israelis, men, women, and children. There are no words, really, to express what has happened. And yet, we find, strangely enough, in the pattern of what I've recorded, Psalms that speak to this moment. My last psalm that I recorded was Psalm 9, and then we see that Psalm 10 through 14, four psalms, all focus on the issue of enemies that threaten to overcome Israel. Now, I've said before that we should often think of these enemies or these opposition that appear in our psalms to be metaphorical, but oftentimes they're not. Remember that our ancestors lived in the Second Iron Age, early antiquity, when these psalms were composed. Most Jews didn't, if they lived in a large city, they lived in a fortified city. But the vast majority of Jews lived in small villages, open and exposed, and the threat of raids, of war, of imperial armies coming through, denuding and raping the land was a very real prospect for our ancestors. And so they prayed frequently about the threat of enemies. And unfortunately, though we enjoy much greater security today, it is still the case that the Jewish people faces many real physical enemies who do us harm. And so these Psalms, 10 through 14, actually speak directly to our circumstances here at the beginning of October. Now, I'm not going to read all of them. I'm just going to select one. There is really not a great deal of subtlety to these. They are a confession of probably what you and I are feeling right now. Why, God, where are you? Why am I suffering? Why do these evildoers get to do as they wish? And we are overwhelmed. And these Psalms reflect that sense of being overwhelmed. But in each and every one of them, they come around and conclude with the idea that in time, we will triumph, that God will sustain us, and we hope that God will truly be on our side as we find that we have to fight back. It was true then, and it's true now. So I'm going to read to you Psalm 13 and maybe just a little bit of Psalm 14 so you get a sense of it. Psalm 13. This is actually recited during the observance of the section of the service that we know as Pesukei de Zimra. We don't do this particular psalm in our Pesukei de Zimra, but it does appear in some versions of it. It is also, again, seizing upon the metaphorical idea of the enemy, a prayer, a psalm that is read over the sick, but we may certainly understand it in the very concrete, very brutal, original sense of we are menaced by enemies. For the leader, a psalm of David. How long, O Lord, will you ignore me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long will I have cares on my mind and grief in my heart all day? How long will my enemy have the upper hand? Look at me, answer me, O Lord my God. Restore the luster to my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say, I have overcome you. My foes exult when I totter, but I trust in your faithfulness. My heart will exalt in your deliverance. I will sing to the Lord, for he has been good to me. So it starts with that sense of desperation and despair that we often feel at certain moments of reversal and tragedy and catastrophe, but it bends us back slowly to the idea that this is not the end of the story, that this catastrophe will not be final, and that in fact, if we trust and we have faith in God and each other, that we will succeed. And even at the very end, it reminds us at these times of deepest despair, good things have come our way, that we have been blessed in many ways. And that idea continues, and that provides some measure of comfort to us at a time of profound tragedy. So just to conclude, I'm going to read a little bit of 14 because it feels a little more on point for what's been happening. I'm going to start with verse 3. Oh, heck, I'll read the whole thing to you. Psalm 14, for the leader of David, the benighted man thinks God does not care. Now, this has been translated in a number of occasions as there is no God, but there really is no evidence that there was a doctrinal notion of atheism at that time. But rather, the perception is more what we would call deism, that God sets the world up and then leaves it to run its course. And God is indifferent to everything that happens subsequent to its creation. So God does not care. Man's deeds are corrupt and loathsome. No one does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on mankind to find a man of understanding, a man mindful of God, but all have turned bad, altogether foul. There is none who does good, not even one. Are they so witless, all these evildoers, who devour my people as they devour food, and do not invoke the Lord? Therefore, there they will be seized with fright. This is the reversal that we would hope would happen. For God is present in the circle of the righteous. You may set at naught the counsel of the lowly, but the Lord is his refuge. That is, the Lord will sustain those who are lowly. Oh, the deliverance of Israel might come from Zion. When the people restores, when the Lord restores the fortune of his people, Jacob will exult, Israel will rejoice. And of course, this positions us directly in the land of Israel, which is currently suffering. And it is, as it has been the case for 3,000 years now, that each reversal eventually is followed by triumph. We have endured. We will endure. Am Israel Chai, the Jewish people lives, and so we will continue to do so. Each one of these Psalms, 10 through 14, address that in a slightly different way. I hope that you find comfort in the weeks and months ahead, and that we and our people in the land of Israel will indeed triumph against evildoers who try to devour our people. Thank you, everyone.